cybersecurity maturity model certification. So it's a model for cybersecurity certification and maturity to have that in place. Where does it come from? It's from the Department of Defense in the US of A. And why is it important? It's important because all the contractors and subcontractors aligned to the Department of Defense have to have a certain level, depending on the information they process, of the CMMC maturity in place. And that's required. So it's really interesting to have a good look at the CMMC model and dive into that one to see what you can pick up and learn from in your own organization. It's a system of compliance levels that helps the government, specifically the Department of Defense, determine whether an organization has the security necessary to work with controlled or otherwise vulnerable data. Um, it's used for companies that hold federal contracts, make sure they have the appropriate measures in place to safeguard a thing they call controlled unclassified information, CUI. You'll see that term a lot when you're dealing with CMMC, controlled unclassified information. And the other term you'll see a lot is federal contract information, FCI, and to account for how that information flows and is used in the third party organization, in your organization. It touches upon about 350,000 firms in total, so it's big. There's 350,000 companies in the defense industrial base, and they all have to comply to a certain extent to the CMMC maturity that's related to their organization. The CMMC is based on a range of frameworks. It doesn't come out of the blue, obviously, but you'll find a lot of NIST material in there. It's very much related to that one. But then in that regard, it's really good to get a good overview on how to get going with it. Now, a thing you need to know about CMMC, there's two levels. There's two versions, CMMC 1 and CMMC 2. CMMC 2 was released in November 2021, so just a couple of months ago. What they've done there is they've simplified CMMC. Original CMMC had 5 maturity levels, which not bad. I like that, but they've simplified that down to 3. The 5 maturity levels were from basic to advanced, and now in CMMC Model 2, there's 3 maturity levels from foundational, advanced to expert. Simpler to grasp what you're doing. Now, the foundational level only has 17 practices that you need to focus on, and it's based around an annual self-assessment. Level 2, the advanced, there's 110 practices aligned with NIST SP 800-171. And there's triennial third-party assessments for critical national security information and annual self-assessments for select programs. Now, level 3, the expert, there's 110 plus practices based on NIST SP 800-172. So that's another good one to have a look at as well. And there are government-led assessments that take place at the level 3 organization maturity. So what the main question that a lot of organizations ask themselves is what CMMC level does my company need to achieve? Well, that depends on the sensitivity of the information, Department of Defense information you will work with, you are working with. And there's in total 17 domains that are covered in the CMMC model. So what kind of stuff is covered in that model? For instance, access control, asset management, I'm scrolling through it right now, audit and accountability, awareness and training, configuration management, identification, authentication, incident response, maintenance, media protection, personnel security, physical protection, recovery, risk management, security assessment, situational awareness, system and communications protection, and last one, system and information integrity. These are the 17 main areas that are covered in the CMMC. Now, what you're looking at here on the screen, that's the critical capabilities for CMMC. These are the most important critical capabilities that need to be in place in an organization to make sure that the CMMC is actually able to be embedded in that organization and used in that organization. What you see here is, let's see if I can zoom out a bit. You'll see blue balls. The blue balls here, they are the critical capabilities, the things that really need to be in place. The ping balls, they are the questions that are aligned to that. So to make sure that it is embedded and isn't in place and everybody has the same understanding about that critical capability. The small blue balls here are related areas that you need to look at when you're dealing with CMMC, or you can learn from, or you can take information from that. And there's red balls here and there as well. These red balls, they are important words that are related to the topic itself. Now, if I zoom out the whole hairball, that might take a while, but then you get an idea of what's going on here. Everything that's covered in the CMMC. You see a lot of crisscrossing going on here. Lines, those lines are the lines that actually tell us what are the important characteristics of a critical capability. And that's based on AI that we developed ourselves, that pulls out all the words and finds out if how prioritized those words need to be and are in relationship to other critical capabilities. So here you see the whole hairball popping up. That's the whole thing. A lot of pink ones. They're the questions related to the critical capabilities, to make sure that you have those in place. And the blue balls are the critical capabilities. Now, let's move on to what I promised at the start of this video, is what are the 3 most important questions to ask when you're dealing with CMMC. And I'm going to pull them up right away, all of them, on the screen while it's loading. Yeah, there we go. Come on, copy paste. It's a bit slow now because this hairball is actually massive and the critical capabilities are in there. There's over 2,000 critical capabilities that we have in here, and they are all aligned and organized on a prioritization level. So the higher up the priority in critical capabilities, the more important it is to have those in place. Same goes with the questions, the priority questions. Let's see if we can pull that up. There it is. These are the top 3 most important questions to ask when you're starting or dealing out or starting to deal with CMMC. The top 3 most important questions. Does your organization verify and control or limit connections to and use of external information systems? So what are your third parties? How's that related to your organization? How do you fix that? How do you make sure that that's in place? You engage with product teams as both advisor and contributing team member to enable building security into complex systems across the entire product lifecycle, from concept through development and use, including conducting security reviews and coordinating penetration testing. So if you've done that, then you already you've got a lot under control already for CMMC. So that's what these things make sure that help you along the way of making sure that you're covering the areas that need to be covered under CMMC. This one here, has your organization implemented a mechanism to limit information system access to the types of transactions and functions that authorized users are permitted to execute? Ensure your organization works in close collaboration with network engineers, DevOps engineers, software development, stakeholders, and end users to develop IT security programs and recommend necessary changes to ensure your organization's systems are secure. Good one. Last one here. The top 3 questions and their answers, the critical capabilities that need to be in place. The question is first, does your organization protect the system security plan from unauthorized disclosure and modification? You can imagine when you're dealing with sensitive information in relationship to the Department of Defense, that's of the highest priority. That actually has to be in place. So ensure your operation oversees and contributes to the implementation of the security controls specified in the security plan or other system documentation, and develops a strategy for monitoring control effectiveness, coordinates a system level strategy with the organization, and mission business process monitoring strategy. All these 3 things, when you have those in place, you're a long way along the way of getting CMMC certification in place. If I double click on those 3, it opens up everything that needs to be covered here. So we see here important questions that are related to CMMC. The 3 most important questions to ask: how you actually fix those issues, what processes, activities need to be in place, and you'll see some related questions that you can ask if you want to have this in place. Here, for instance, what are your organization's critical assets and associated risks to be secured? And I'm going to ask that question of the cyber analysis tool integrator. While I'm at it, I might ask a couple more questions that are related to this one. So you can see everything's related to each other, and you can really go down into the rabbit hole. Go to the link below, you'll find the whole Kanban there. This is a visualization we're doing of that data in there. You can find the whole Kanban there based on swim lanes. Swim lanes are based on the most important words, for instance, security, and you go down in prioritization there, all for you to use. Is data quality your biggest barrier to the adoption and deployment of machine learning? Oh, that's a good one. Ask the IT information assurance cyber. Now, other questions to ask: where do inputs to a critical process come from? Is data quality your biggest barrier to the adoption and deployment of machine learning? That's the one we had. What is your advice on how to increase the maturity level of the conversation around cyber threats and to better manage risks at an enterprise level? I like that. I'm going to dive into this one. Support the enterprise SSO platform to enable a secure and enhanced authentication involvement for enterprise users. Now, and here, safeguard that your workforce is involved in Active Directory, LDAP, Enterprise SAN, NES involvement, and IT monitoring tools. So you see, here's how I'm developing a roadmap for my organization quickly to make sure that these activities are in place. And with the Kanban, I can easily assign those tasks to a person or a group, making sure that it's embedded, it's in place, it's covered. Now, these are the four most important questions. In total, there's 48. And the 48 most important questions, those are the questions you'll also see in the daily mail out that I do through LinkedIn, the LinkedIn mailing list. We've got over 4,000 subscribers now. Subscribe there, you'll get the daily topic and the most important questions to ask and their answers in an easy email on a daily basis. So these are other most important questions to ask when you're dealing with CMMC. I'm just going to pick a few to give you an idea. Are configuration managed changes to the system altered by organization personnel? Good. I'm not going to read them out loud. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to pan over it a bit. And obviously we're live now, but in the replay you can just have a look at them. You can pause and you can think about them. So these questions, I often bring them up when I do workshops with teams. Bring them up like, hey, let's focus on this question and how are we dealing with this question? What question do we want to have answered right now? And then I can just go on. Okay, has your organization implemented a mechanism to control the connection of mobile devices to the information system? I got to do this. Operationalize the architecture and design of new and current systems. How am I doing that? Ask another question. It's definitely embedded in architecture. And these are the other areas I need to be looking at. And I'm going to ask a question. These are the people that need to be involved here. You see, and it goes all the way down the rabbit hole and zooming in there. So these are the top 48 most important questions to ask. And we've covered the top 3, the most important 3 questions. Now, what I also can do is access control, for instance, in CMMC is a very important topic. So let's just say I want to pull up the access control questions to make sure that when we're dealing with access control, we're able to cover these questions. We're able to have answers in place and processes in place to these questions. Do you use access control lists to limit access to applications and data based on role and or identity? I'm not going to read them out loud, but you get the idea by now. The activities are here in play and in place, the blue ones. And I can double click on them and see how they're related to CMMC and how prioritized they are. And the gray boxes, they give me interesting words. They're just words, so that's a word cloud. They give me interesting words that I need to focus on when I deal with a certain activity. So let me just pull one of those up. So we haven't even covered that, but let's have a look at that. Do you use access control lists to limit access to applications and data based on role and or identity? Assure your workforce maintains and enhances software applications and make necessary modifications. All right. What are the areas I need to be focusing on when I do that? Testing, development, network, system, software, enterprise, cybersecurity, compliance, processes. So these are just word clouds I need to think of, keep in the back of my mind when I'm dealing with this process, with this issue. Make sure that we have all these angles covered. And that's really helpful for me as well to have a conversation going, a process management team meeting on what we need to be doing, what the activities are. Now let's go back to the most important. Let's go to the most important word cloud. So we've seen the gray areas; they are the words that we need to cover on, but that we need to cover. But there's also the most important words, the big yellow rounds. Let's focus on that one. Let's have a look. These are the swim lanes, as we call them, the swim lanes in the Kanban. So if you go to the link below, you'll find swim. It's organized in swim lanes, and the swim lanes are these basically. And in the swim lanes, you see you see the activities prioritized. So, for instance, when you need to focus on one thing, you need to focus on innovation in CMMC. There's a swim lane for that. What's in the innovation CMMC? There's these 4 activities that you need to be doing to get innovation going. Guarantee your team is driving innovation and influencing the team to implement solutions with future thinking. Ensure you know different ideas, perspectives, and backgrounds lead to better innovation and results. Be confident that your organization is thriving, an environment for learning, innovation, and growth, and verify that your group demonstrates self-initiative, a sense of urgency, and innovation creativity. So these are the swim lanes in the Kanban down below that you'll find there. I can open up another one, control, and see what's there. See, there you go. This is all under control, swim lane of CMMC, stuff that you need to be doing, activities that you need to be doing. And I can, again, double click on it and see how everything's connected here and come up with a great plan, or actually the plan's already here on the screen, to ensure that control is in place for CMMC. If I open them all up, I'll have a great blueprint. What teams often do is they open them all up and they print it on a big A5 and stash it against the wall and have a look at that continuously while they're going through their CMMC activities. The related areas you need to focus on, I've touched upon that before as well. So CMMC comes from NIST. There's a lot of NIST material in there, but also a lot of other material like SOC 2, ISO 27001 and 27000 in general. Cybersecurity has a look at certifications as well, like CCNP security. Deal with intrusion prevention. Here we have NIST cybersecurity framework, service level management, cyber incident response plan. All these are related areas to CMMC or activities or processes that you need to have in place as well. Data maturity, zero trust, incident remediation, 5 maturity stages of an organization, third-party risk management, and I can actually click on one of those as well and deep dive into one of those areas. So if I say like, oh, where are we? What's not a strong area? We're not really strong in penetration testing. Let's have a look what we can do there. Drive program maturity, reducing the time to vulnerability remediation by integrating technology platforms, automating processes, providing vulnerability remediation guidance. Our system vulnerability remediation checks run after installations and maintenance work. Good question. Do we actually do that? I'm going to ask that of my cybersecurity senior engineer, enterprise architect executive, and information security engineer, or assign that to them. And that's what I can do in the Kanban below. I can assign these questions and these capabilities directly to these persons in my organization, and they can get back to that. The Kanban itself, we've got that organized in a tool called Airtable. You might have heard of it. Airtable is a free tool, pretty straightforward, easy, and we use it to assign activities to people in organizations and then get back to it. So it's Kanban driven, makes it a whole lot easier to organize activities. But you can also do it in Jira, any tool that you want, basically. While I'm talking to these people, I can ask them some other questions to make sure that we've got it all covered. See, there you go. These questions come from the books and the self-assessment toolkits, and that's where they're prioritized in their maturity levels. So the self-assessment toolkit for CMMC is sort of like a self-assessment for the maturity of CMMC itself, and it dives really deep into each and every question, up to 1,000 questions that you need to be asking for CMMC to make sure that you have a certain maturity level. Now, what are the processes that need to be in place for CMMC? So we started out with the 3 most important questions to ask, and that gave us some important processes to make sure that we have to make sure that are in place. But if I look at it from the angle of the 10 most important activities, the 10 most important critical capabilities that I need to have in place in my organization to be able to do great with CMMC and actually go way beyond CMMC maturity, these are the activities and processes I really need to have in place to make sure that our cybersecurity is mature, because that's what we're doing this for. And the end result is that because our cybersecurity is mature, we are able to deal with Department of Defense contracts, but that's not always the main incentive. The main incentive is we want to be cybersecurity mature ourselves. That makes perfect sense. So I'm not going to read through them. There's a lot of text going on. You can see them in the replay. You can also go down to the Kanban, and they're all there. These are the activities that you need to be doing, the 10. And again, I can double click and open them up, and I can see how they're all related, and I can dive down into the rabbit hole. See, there you go. Lots popping up here. The 10 most important activities. Now, when I want to focus specifically on one topic in CMMC, I can go like, yeah, let's just focus on risk only. So these are the activities that need to be in place to when I only want to focus on risk. The top 10, we're doing the top 10, the highest prioritized ones. Coordinate information security and risk management projects with resources from the IT organization and business unit teams. Do service reliability engineering. Have a cyber program in place. Security controls, how are those? Supply chain risk management, focus on that. Mitigate risks, etc., etc. GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, that in place. So see, it's all there. Now, if you want to have a look at all the questions, and that's another one I actually pull up quite frequently in team meetings. See if it comes up. There we go. These are all the questions that are in the Kanban down below, in the critical capabilities. These are all the questions that are in there. And what this helps me with, sometimes I just pull these up on a whiteboard, and we'll just pick a question, like see if we can answer that question in the management team. Is backed up data sufficiently protected? Let's see what comes up if I double click that. Backup data sufficiently protected. Be a data product owner. You are responsible for collecting and translating information requirements into data-centric solutions. And the question will be asked to lead content services. All right, interesting. Be a data product owner. Is data backed up successfully? And it's in the data main topic, obviously, and CMMC. These are the other areas I need to be thinking of when I deal with that. So, for instance, enterprise, software, people, engineering, technology, all the privacy, which is big here, obviously. Oh, and I'm going to clog up your screen right now. I'm going to click on one of those gray balls and see the other ones that pop up that are related to privacy. Poof, there you go. These are all the privacy related critical capabilities that you need to have in place. So see, there's many ways of just going down the rabbit hole and figuring out what you need to do. You can have yourself led by the highest priority ones, or you can dive yourself into one of the areas and go all the way down. Now, another thing is, who need to know the answers to these questions? Now, let's do this. These are the people, job titles. These are the job titles, the people that are related to CMMC. So to a successful cybersecurity program, cybersecurity management program, a maturity program. So what kind of people do we have here? These are actually real job titles, real job roles in organizations. So this is often used as well when people want to look for another job in an organization or apply for a job, or a new role is being put in place in an organization. This is really helpful to figure out what are the capabilities of that role and what does the role need to do, what are the responsibilities of that role. So here I just clicked on Senior Threat Intelligence Manager. What is the expected result, and how can do the test evaluation results affect the program, and what processes or functions are vendor supporting? Those are questions that lead me to a deeper train of thought when I'm talking to the Senior Threat Intelligence Manager. And those are the activities that need to be in place then. And I can double click on each and every one, and up come all the related areas and the priorities and the prioritization. And the most important words that are attached to it. So this is really helpful to get the conversation going around what roles do we need to have? Do we actually have those roles? And more importantly, do we have the responsibilities that are attached to those roles? So these are the questions I'll be asking, but what are the responsibilities attached to those roles? There you go. These are the responsibilities. So the senior cybersecurity analyst will have these responsibilities attached to the role. And then what often happens as well is if I'm just looking at it from I want to apply to this role perspective, I can just have a look at the questions that are asked of this and prepare myself for the job interview. That's how people are using this one as well. So now you know the 4 most important questions related to CMMC. That's how we started out with these ones, how they're all related to each other, what you need to be doing in your organization, what kind of roles will you need to have in your organization, what CMMC actually is, how you get to certain maturity levels, what kind of questions you need to be asking in your organization, and who you need to be asking those questions to in your organization. I'm going to double click all of them and see what comes up. So we'll have the most important questions here and all the people that we need to ask those questions of. There we go. Why? Because it just looks cool, doesn't it? I think it does. There. And double click that role. There we are. So the 3 most important questions, the 3 balls in the middle that I need to ask in my organization related to CMMC to get the conversation going, the activities that I need to have in place in my organization to get that going, and the roles that I need to have in place, plus other questions I can ask of that role. All this to make sure that your CMMC is working fantastically. Thank you for this. With this, I'm going to leave you. Have a look at the link down below in the show notes and here in the bar. That'll take you to the Kanban where you can easily search, browse anything you want related to CMMC. You can do anything with it you want. Search, find, filter in the complete CMMC Kanban. With this, I'm going to leave you. Thank you, and we'll see you again tomorrow.